Today we are editing Torpedo, a Dachshund mix, and we just have this really great, adorable shot of him just looking down, but he's looking up a little bit through his brow, and I just think that this is just the cutest shot ever. I'm gonna crop in here. I'm gonna do a 4x5 crop. I'm gonna bring it in nice and tight and make sure to get all of this little cute hot dog in there. We were on a hill. It's not perfectly level back there, but that's okay. Lining up that rule of thirds right on the eye there. And I think that's a pretty good crop there. I'm going to go ahead and press W for my white picker tool. It does the job a little bit. I think it added a little bit too much magenta. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that back until things start to look a little green. I think right about there we're probably good. And the image is overall a little bit cool, so I'm gonna warm it up just a bit too as well. I'm gonna hit this auto button, and that's just gonna balance out the histogram for us. Made everything way too bright. I'm gonna bring it down right about there. And that's just gonna balance out that histogram for us. It does a little bit of the work of making the background just a little bit flatter, which is what I would do anyway. So I'm gonna do Shift W. That's gonna bring me over to my masking tool. I'm going to do a subject mask, and it got our subject nicely. So I'm going to apply this dog contrast preset. It just sets a medium contrast curve, texture clarity and dehaze to 7, and sharpness to 17. So you can see it adds a little bit too much contrast, at least in the case of this dog. So I'm going to go ahead and lift up those shadows, probably right about there. I bring down those highlights a little bit, probably around there. And I'm going to increase the exposure a tiny bit. I think we're looking pretty good. I'm going to warm up our dog a little bit. Warmth makes them seem a little bit friendlier. I'm going to bring it up just that little bit there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a little bit of saturation as well. And that just gives you a little bit of color pop. And then we're going to go ahead and create another mask. And we're going to mask out these big, beautiful brown eyes that are just looking up at us. Increase the exposure. I sometimes will take them to the point where they look like they're glowing, and then I'll bring it back until I think it starts to look pretty normal. And for me, I think that's right about there. I like to increase the saturation, and because they're brown, I'll warm them up a little bit too. I'll decrease that black point. I'll crush it. What that does is it just gives it that little bit of color pop with the temperature and the saturation. For now, that's going to be good. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of the leash, but for that, I'm going to need to go into Photoshop. Command E gets me over into Photoshop, and here I am, and I'm going to do Command plus, zoom in. I have the remove tool selected. J would be the hotkey for that, or you could just open it up in this little side panel here, right click remove tool. But I like J. It's a little bit faster. I'm going to use my right bracket. It's going to make my brush bigger, and I'm just going to trace the leash. I think that did a pretty good job. I'm just going to go ahead and clean those up a little bit, and I don't want it to look like I did anything though. So I'm going to create a small brush here and just go over those lighter parts, because those are the parts that will attract attention anyway. So if I get rid of those, then I don't really have to worry about anything else. I don't think I'm going to be able to get much in the way over there. That's okay. We got rid of a little bit. We cleaned it up. So I think we're good here. I'm going to hit Command S. That's going to save. And I'm going to go back into Lightroom. Here I am back in Lightroom. I'm going to go to the Effects tab. I'm going to do a -15 for my vignette. Just darken up those edges. Bring that attention in towards the subject. And then I'm going to head over to this color mixer tool. And I'm going to emphasize those greens a little bit more, just because we have the dominant color of this dog is tan, which is pretty close to the yellow and dead tone in the background. So I want to emphasize that green and create a little bit of contrast between our subject and our background. I'm going to hit Shift W. I'm going to select our background, and it did a really good job of selecting our background. And here I'm going to use the point color tool, and I'm going to select some of those, like one of those kind of dead spots in the grass, and get that tone selected. I'm going to visualize the range here, see what I'm working with. I'm going to expand it. Yeah, I'm going to expand it pretty much all the way here. And I'm going to push those tones a little bit more towards, I'm trying to decide on where I want to push the tones, because I can get this kind of red color, but I don't really want to do that. I want to push it a little bit towards the green side a little bit. I'm going to desaturate, but actually I'm going to reduce the range here because I don't really want it selecting that background. So I really just want it getting that dead grass there. And I'm going to make it look just a little bit more alive. think that's the effect. So it's just less noticeably dead and it doesn't have that same tone as the dog. I made it a little bit more green. That's pretty much it. I'm also going to tint the background a little bit on the green side too. I can even cool it down a little bit and just give a little bit more separation between our subject and our background. We're also attracted to clear objects. We like clarity. So I'm going to go ahead and reduce the clarity. I'm going to reduce the texture and I'm going to go ahead and add negative dehaze, or I'm going to add haze to the background, which kind of makes it less attractive for the eye, which is really what we're going for because our subject is the dog, not the background. So I'm pretty happy with a less clear background. The next thing we're going to do is to really emphasize that focus. Our eyes are attracted to color. So if we take away some of that color out of that background, and we don't have to do too much here, we can actually probably get away with a relatively small change in the saturation. I'm going to do -25. I think that's doing it for me right here. But we'll see once we apply some of the other edits. So I'm going to create another mask. I'm going to use the linear gradient tool and I'm going to hit shift and I'm going to just darken the foreground here. So I'm dragging it up and then lowering that exposure. The really neat thing about this is you can lower that exposure pretty low and nobody's going to notice. It's a really neat thing. Learned it from a landscape photographer and his photos all looked pretty to me, so I think he had something going on. He probably knew what he was doing. He's pretty successful. So I'm gonna go with it. Next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a radial gradient, and I am going to create a custom vignette for this dog. I'm gonna rotate this a little bit, center it up more on him, and we're gonna invert this mask, and we're gonna bring down the exposure just right along the edges, creating our custom vignette. We're really just drawing the viewer's attention back in towards our subject. We're going to create one more vignette, a radial gradient, over the face of our dog here. I'm going to make it a little bit bigger and softer. I'm going to increase the exposure just a little bit. It's going to have kind of that spotlight effect right on our subject, which is exactly what we're looking for. And so another thing that I could do here is I could probably emphasize that light coming in because it all seems to be coming in from this one side. So I'm going to do that with another radial gradient. And this time I'm going to zoom out quite a bit. And I'm going to pretend that this gradient is the sun. And I'm going to make it nice and big and soft. Flatten the sun a little bit there. And I'm trying to line up this with where the actual sun would be and where the light is hitting. The next thing I can do with that gradient is actually I can intersect it with the subject. So that way the light is just appearing on the subject and it's not brightening up any of those areas we purposely darkened to bring the attention towards our subject. So we're adding a little bit of exposure there. And we're going to add a little bit of color temperature there because the sun is nice and warm. So now we've just emphasized a little bit of what that light was already doing, which is just a nice thing that you can do. I don't know. I think it's nice. You may disagree with me. If you disagree with me, tell me in the comments or don't. I don't really care. You could. It's fine. Talk to me. I'm not just alone in a room speaking into some sort of metal object hoping that somebody will listen. That would be sad, right? That's a really sad thing. But if you like this video, there's a button for that. And if you want to subscribe, there's a button for that. If you want to tell me which one you want to do or why you did the thing that you did or why you did the thing that you didn't do or didn't do the thing that you did, whatever the right words are there's a comment button. I think there's a button. I'm not really sure if there's a button. Is there a comment button? I don't know. Go down in the comments, find out. And that's your dog.